Talk to me about vaping. You've never vaped, I'm guessing.
No, I've never vaped. Never smoked either, actually.
No, me neither. What do you think about the new ban?
Well, it's something we called for. Our Shadow Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, was calling for this, I think, 2 years ago. So I think it is important and it's welcome that the government have caught up with us. I mean, I've got these shops in my own Leicester constituency. I'm sure you've seen them. I'm sure the viewers have seen these types of shops. They really market these disposable vapes at young people. They have sort of cartoon characters in the windows. They have all these very sort of childish-sounding names, you know, bubblegum flavoured, lemonade flavours and all that. And we don't want a generation of young people getting addicted to nicotine. I think it's really, really important. Actually, I think we've got to be doing more in this country for children's health. We've got a big child health plan in the Labour Party. We've got to do more for children's mental health. We've got to do more on child obesity. We've got to make sure that children who need an operation or need to see a GP, they get that treatment quickly in the NHS. So I think, welcome the ban. We'll support it, even if Tory MPs won't. We've got to do so much more to improve the health of our children.
Nanny state, says Liz Truss. Balmy, says Boris Johnson.
Well, look, I mean, I think that shows you the division and the infighting in the Tory party, that Rishi Sunak can't get his programme through. So, look, you know, if Victoria Atkins is coming on the show later, you can tell her Labour MPs will help her get this legislation through, even if she can't rely on Conservative MPs.
Sadly, that boat's sailed. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Talk to me about funding for the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine. The Israeli government has said that some members, about 12 members of staff who work for that UN agency, were involved in the attacks on the 7th of October. As a result, the British government has paused funding. Labour's view?
Well, on the particular individuals, I mean, that is absolutely appalling. They've been suspended. I think their contracts with UNRWA have been terminated. But this is a humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. Now, as it happens, a few years ago, I've actually visited the UNRWA headquarters in Jerusalem when I visited the occupied Palestinian territory. So I've seen for myself the work that UNRWA do. We've got to get more aid into Gaza because of what is happening. It is a catastrophe. It's why, for example, we've also called for a halt in the fighting, an immediate humanitarian truce, a ceasefire, a sustained ceasefire is needed. But UNRWA programmes have to continue. Current UNRWA programmes have to continue. And we need to hear from ministers today what's happening with future funding, because we need to get more aid into Gaza, not less.
So the government should think again about that?
Well, current programmes need to continue, and we need an explanation from ministers urgently as to how funding is going to be restored, because we should be getting more aid into this part of the world, not less, when we see every night on our television screens the absolute catastrophe of it. And it's why I say again, we want a halt in this fighting and immediately a humanitarian truce. And ultimately, we've got to get to a sustained ceasefire.
I heard Kemi Badenoch yesterday explaining why she sacked Henry Staunton, who was the Post Office chairman. Would a Labour government support that?
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I think my colleague Jonathan Reynolds was on the TV yesterday and he said it's sort of unusual for these things to happen over a weekend, but we need to see the reasoning. But I can understand that it is so vital that we have reforms at the Post Office, that the Post Office work hard to restore its reputation after this absolute scandal, which we've obviously spoken about before on the show. So, look, seems understandable. We need to get more details from the government. Presumably they'll give us more details today.
What about those who say he's only been in post a year? Give him a chance.
Well, I mean, you know, we've got to hear from the ministers today. I presume they'll make some statement, I guess, about exactly what their reasoning is on that front.
Talk to me about Labour suggesting that it's the undisputed party of business. To that end, I know that you sent Jonathan Ashworth, who you mentioned, and also Rachel Reeves to Davos.
No, Jonathan Reynolds. I'm Ashworth.
Oh, yes, you are.
There's two Jonathans.
I'm so sorry about that.
That's all right.
How do they differentiate between you when you're around the table at Shadow Cabinet?
He's the good-looking one.
I think they call him Johnny, don't they?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Yeah, you see. Undisputed party of business. Let's get back on track.
Well, look, we want to work with the business community hand in hand to create good, well-paid jobs across the country, to raise living standards. And we're really pleased that today a significant business leader, Richard Walker, the head of Iceland Supermarkets, has endorsed Keir Starmer. He says Keir Starmer's got the vision and the plan to take this country forward after 14 years of the Conservatives. He's got the vision to turn the page and the vision to rebuild this country. So we're really pleased that Richard Walker, a very significant business leader, is today endorsing Labour. And of course, he used to support the Conservatives. But today he says...
Before that, he supported Labour, though.
No, he's always been a Conservative.
Has he?
He's always been. I've known him for many years, as it happens.
Okay.
He's always been a Conservative. Well, you'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
But he's been a Conservative supporter in recent years. He's now switched to the Labour Party, and it's because of Keir Starmer and Keir Starmer's plan for the country. I think that's a very significant moment, and we're obviously delighted to have Richard Walker's support.
Let's end where we started. What will you say? I mean, what do you say to your kids when it comes to vaping?
Well, actually, funnily enough, my kids are at the age where they're 12 and 9. Luckily for me, that vaping isn't really on their radar. But I do worry when I walk past some of the shops in Leicester, which have got sort of very cartoonish characters. And they look like sweet shops. You'd think it was a sweet shop or an ice cream shop, you know? And it's a vape shop. So it does worry me. So I think it's the right thing. It's why we called for it a couple of years ago. And as I say, we will support the Tory government because we'll always put the national interest first. We'll support the Tory government in getting the relevant legislation through.